Hi, everyone. Welcome to Hanging Out with Mad Mimi. I'm Mira. You can join us here live every Wednesday at 4 p.m. But of course, always find our recordings on our YouTube channel. I'm so glad you could join us. This week, we're joined by a very special guest, Gabe from Grasslands Brewing Company. And I invite you all to ask him whatever questions you have. So if you see a little Q&A button in the top of your screen, just go ahead and hit that and shoot us your queries, and we'll get them answered. So Gabe, thanks so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
I'm personally a big fan of beer and craft beer specifically. So I'm very glad that we'll be able to talk about how Mad Mimi and beer can work together. So I'm wondering if you could just first introduce us into sort of what is a day in the life of Gabe the brewer like.
Okay. There's no 2 days that are the same right now. Absolutely. We're Grasslands Brewing Company is mine and my wife and my partner's baby. This is kind of born 3.5 years ago, and we have pushing forward to launch this thing very hard for the past year, and now we're finally on that end of that journey, but it's taken a long time to do that. So the day in the life has constantly fluctuated. Average day right now is I go into work where I'm really kind of preparing a number of different things before we actually launch. We're a brewery in planning that is set to launch in January 2015.
That's coming up.
Yes, very quickly. And it's funny, the people that have been following along on our journey for a long time know that, it used to be July 2014, then it was September, and then it was maybe December, and so right now you're kind of handcuffed by, you're not handcuffed, you're just limited by certain things that are in motion. So construction, licensing, permitting, those are all obstacles that we've had to navigate for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
When you throw alcohol into the mix, people start getting a little more like they got to wring their wrists and make sure that they that everything is looked over twice, and so that just pushes back. But now I think we're on a good construction schedule, an inspection schedule, so that we can open by the end of January.
That's fabulous.
But in a average day, I get up to our temporary working offices, and we go over a number of different things, like from licensing to ordering products that we need to get put into the brewery as far as our build-out goes, meeting with our construction manager, meeting with our interior designer, talking with our lawyer, all these different things that go into it. Once we actually get in operation, brewing takes over your day-to-day. It's not just brewing. Brewing is maybe about 5% of the business. The rest is administrative paperwork, cleaning.
It's business.
Cleaning is a lot of cleaning. There's a common adage that if you love cleaning, you love brewing beer. So it's a lot of prep right now. But once we get into actual operation, it'll be a lot of moving parts that we'll be managing.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. So you are right now building your actual brewery. It's, yes, I guess, yes, across the street from where you're sitting right now.
Yes, and that's a nice thing, because anytime that there's, I don't have to worry about driving across town if there's an issue, and there's always an issue. So we are attentive to, we're not micromanaging it, but we're available if there's something that needs to be decided.
That's nice.
within 5 minutes. So it's good.
So how were you doing your brewing then before you had, this whole part of the journey? It seems like now you're very focused on getting that brewery built, but I mean, you had beer before then.
Sure. Yeah. The charming answer is in my backyard. A lot of people have heard me say that, every home brewer out there gets told it one point or another that you could sell this, you could bring this to a bar, or I could walk up to a bar and buy this. Why don't you do that? And they say, well, why don't I do that? And then they look at the capital undertaking that's required to start a brewery, and then they say, I think I'll keep my day job and brew on the weekends. And I'm one of those few that are on the fringe and deciding to kind of take that entrepreneurial leap. I mean, and I'm still doing it right now. We're brewing in small, very pico-sized pilot batches that we make available to people at events. We participate, or we have people participate into a review club, a monthly lottery where we send out free samples in exchange for brutal, honest feedback, because we like our beer, but we want to make sure that people like our beer as well. Or if they don't, or if they do, we want to know about it. What do they think about it? What would they change, or what would they suggest? And how much would they expect to pay for it at a bar or a restaurant, or or at our tap room? So
yeah, your own built-in sort of marketing or marketing research.
Turn into a product testing thing without even realizing it.
So now sorry.
I'm just saying, we just want people to taste it. And because it's one thing to say that you're starting a brewery or starting any business, but if you can't wrap your hands around it, your mind around it, what you want to be able to give somebody something to work with.
Sure.
When you say we're going to be brewing beer, well, people are going to be like, well, does it taste good? What does it taste like? And if you have to say, well, you're going to have to check with us in January 2015, that's not going to cut it. You need to be able to engage a little bit better than that.
I would also imagine that helps with the brewery building process as well, because you're actively doing it while you're building it in sort of a macro scale, so you
Absolutely.
can you know what you need.
We've had a coming soon sign outside of our construction site for the better part of 8 months, because that's when we signed the lease, and as soon as we signed the lease, we put that up there, and that generates attention and interest, and if you can match that interest with offering an actual product, even though they're not buying it, that's like you're creating an experience which a lot of people are drawn to. And in a town like Tallahassee, Florida, where we're from, there's only 3 other commercial brewing presences here, and most people here only know about one or none.
Wow.
And so, oftentimes we've been mistakenly referred to as Tallahassee's first brewery, but we're not. We have to correct them and saying like, no, there is a commercial brewing presence, and it's getting better and better and better.
So, I mean, you're only going to further that popularization of that then,
absolutely, yeah.
Which is great. So, speaking of the actual brewery that's across the street that's being built right now, we have a question from Forrest Hayden, and he asks, so you know him, all right.
I know Forrest.
He asks how big the sour program is going to be for you guys, and will you have separate spaces?
Yes. That's a great question for us, and I think he already knows the answer, but he wanted other people to hear it too.
Well, good. We want to hear.
I'll talk about the size of the brewery itself. We're going to be a 15-barrel brewery, and a barrel, think about a barrel as 2 commercial kegs, so 31 gallons. So that in any given session, we're brewing 465 gallons at a time.
Wow.
We'll also have a 2.5-barrel pilot system so that we can kind of do that experimental run. I liken it to, we have a sweet potato beer that is aged with bourbon.
Wow.
I love the beer, but I'm not going to just hope that things work out all right on 15 barrels worth. I'm going to go ahead and experiment on a smaller scale so that if things go south, my pocket isn't completely empty. What Forrest is referring to is a growing trend in the craft beer movement, and that's the sour or the wild side of beers. These intentionally or even spontaneously fermented beers that have either a funky or an acidic flavor characteristic to them. And that's something that we want to be known for. That's something that we strive to do. So a sour program needs to have its own attention. Somebody that manages that, and needs to almost be kept separate from the main brewing system. And you hear about it usually as like a sour room, or a sour. When we say sour program, it's like a different area where It's closed loop, that none of that bacteria can get into your main brewing system and infect your other beers that are not supposed to be sour. So with that said, we'll start our sour program on the 2.5, 2.5 barrel system. And it'll be minuscule to start, unfortunately so for us, but it will grow from there. What's nice is that I showed you an image of the building earlier. The building to the left of it, we have the first right of refusal to expand into that to the tune of around 10 to 12,000 square feet. We're operating right now, or we will operate with 4,000 square feet and 1,000 for a tap room. And so that gives us the freedom to open up the possibilities. So canning our product, really kind of putting a barrel program, so working with different vintages of wine or bourbon or rum or any kind of spirit that impacts beer from an aging perspective. And then the sour program will go in line with that. Good question, Forrest.
Thank you, Forrest. Yeah, that sounds great. Also, I think because you mentioned it's a growing trend, it's also nice to be able to start out small, but then see if that's if it'll catch on, and then if you could probably have lots of sour areas, I guess.
Yeah, a guy on our brewing team, our future brewing team, his name is Corey. And he has made some of the best sours that I've ever tasted in my life. And this is something that it's going to be in charge of. It's going to be his baby, and I just want him to just go forth and do it, because I think that his spin on it will really bring people in. It's a niche market right now, but I think that's like the next big thing to hit the craft brewing scene.
Yeah. Well, I was saying he could be your CSO, Chief Sour Operator.
Very cool.
Officer, sorry. So that's an interesting idea, though, in that if you guys want to actually be known for that thing, and you're already very successful at connecting to your audience and in keeping your followers up to date on things. And I wonder if even you could be a force in popularizing the sour itself, with these techniques that you already are using.
Potentially. I think that it's growing on its own. I think that ball is really rolling as it is. I think that there's definitely an area for improvement in awareness in the state of Florida. There's really not too much that's offered here locally or regionally. And I think that's something that we as a brewery can work with other breweries that are kind of pushing that trend out there to do. I think that the other progressive areas of the country, the Vermont, North Carolina, Colorado, Washington, Oregon, they're doing it already, and they've been doing it. And so we want to just kind of bring that trend, and because it's something that we enjoy on a personal level. So.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like that's also important as well, is having a personal connection to what it is that you're doing. And you had mentioned, that there are a lot of people who do home brewery, or home brewing, but then don't necessarily take that entrepreneurial leap into in creating an actual brewery. But you guys actually just recently won an entrepreneurial award in Tallahassee. That's right?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Sure. We were nominated for the 2014 Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce Entrepreneurial Startup of the Year Award. It was the most nominated and applied for category of 6 different categories, including tech and food service, community-driven, all this type of stuff. And we were just honored that we were nominated to be included with very, very cool businesses that are doing, very new and hip and doing these cool things. And when we won, we were just shocked. We couldn't. As a team, I think all 3 of us just said, "Oh shit," and we could believe it because we had come to that event completely ready to clap for one of the other nominees, expecting that they were going to win. But I think what it speaks to is our ability to kind of connect the experience with the brand of
Mm-hmm.
Grasslands, what we want to bring to the community, constantly engaging with the community as much as possible. What we try and do is any potential event, we talk as a team and find reasons to do it as opposed to not to do it.
Mm-hmm.
We get invited to do things a lot. And so over the past year to 2 years, I want to say we've done maybe 20 to 25 different events.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are recurring, but others um, are don't even involve us serving beer. It involves us talking about our business or talking about entrepreneurship or talking about the beer industry and how we want to be a change agent in the state of Florida, in the city
Mm-hmm.
of Tallahassee, and these types of things. And so it's us connecting the brand with an experience or a product.
Mm-hmm. Now, can you tell me a little bit about how you find these sort of events? Because it's a really interesting strategy for getting your brand out there, and also, like you said, connecting to the community that you're existing in.
Right.
So you are invited to some, but then the other ones, how do you find those?
You know, we've asked specifically in a couple of instances, but for surprisingly enough, for the most part, it's all invited. People that are asking us, hey, would you be interested in donating your beer to this event?
Mm-hmm.
And then it invites a conversation as to, well, what's the event? In our opinion, ideally, we'd like it to have some sort of ideological mesh with our mission and vision and our philosophy. But if it's something that's just like a feel-good thing, like something benefiting the homeless, or a mission, outreach mission that does different things in the community, we're happy to do that. And it's not just necessarily us looking to promote the brand; it's more us just looking to do something cool or do
Mm-hmm.
something nice. And so, but yeah, like I said, for the most part, it's invite or expected that at an event like a beer festival, we're expected that we want to participate, and so it's
Yeah.
not necessarily a formal invitation as it is. Say, all right, well, what are you planning on bringing? Because we know you want to come, that kind of thing. So.
Right. Right. So Forrest has another question for us here.
All right.
No, these are good.
Yeah.
He's asking, how do you plan to interact with your community once you're in full swing? And he's
Sure.
asking both socially and environmentally.
Sure. We're an environmentally conscious brewery within reason. We're not one of those crazies that are chaining ourselves to trees that are going to be torn down. But we're environmentally conscious from a sustainable standpoint, and we will continue to promote that through participation events after we're opening, aligning ourselves with charities. So say in a given month, a specific sale that we'll have on these kegs will directly offset a philanthropic donation to a charity that embodies our mission.
Mm-hmm.
We'll continue to interact and engage that way. From a social standpoint, one of the things that we want to do is be inviting. We want to have a very community-driven business, and to do that, we can't come off as pretentious. That if you don't particularly like craft beer, we're not going to shut the door in your face or turn our nose at you. Everybody has their own tastes and preferences. I think the most bar owners or bartenders get asked this question the most is, what's your lightest beer? And you can't get upset with people if that's they're like that. They may be just they could be a huge craft beer buff and waiting to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to treat our customers with respect. We want to show them that our excitement, our passion for both our business, the industry, as well as our mission. And I think that our plan to do that is, Scott, our Vice President of Operations, he's helped open a couple of craft-focused bars here in town in the past, and they're really known for their kind of this lighthearted, engaging style, and that's what. And Forrest knows Scott directly, so what we want to do is make it fun for people to come and engage with us. And in the state of Florida, um, a brewery can have an on-site tap room as long as you're promoting tourism. That's a nice vague, ambiguous term, but it's true. We want people to know that like we're promoting the city of Tallahassee, we're promoting the state of Florida, and we want you to come visit us, and because we're excited about the business. And so I think just from social engagement, we'll have a very inviting atmosphere. And then we'll participate in events and donate to charities that align with our mission and vision.
Okay, thanks. Now, we've talked a lot about the sort of traditional aspects and the physical aspects of a brewing business.
Right.
The city that you're in, and that you have a tap room, and that you want to be inviting and engaging to these customers who are physically there, and how you physically brew beer. But we're in this economy that is so very much based in the internet. And
Absolutely.
You also, at the moment, don't have the brewery. So you have to figure out different ways to connect with your audience and to keep them interested, to keep them connected with what's going on in your journey. And so I was wondering if you could share a few of the tools that you use in order to do that on sort of the tech side of things.
Sure. And I think what you're talking, or what you're leading into, is the necessity for social media and social networking. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, you have to be able to at least engage with people beyond direct email or direct mail. I think that one of the things that we did, was anytime anybody asked us a question, we would immediately answer. I used to scoff at Twitter until I started really engaging with Twitter, and then our numbers just started skyrocketing with people that are interested in what's going on. And so the way I look at a traditional blue collar, if you will, business model like a brewery, and how that fits in, you can continue. I mean, and it's almost like having a restaurant. How do you engage with people beyond their direct experience when they walk through the door? I think that the craft brewing industry right now is fun. So people pay attention to it. People are drawn to it. It's fun to watch. It's fun to make fun of. There's, there's a stereotypical hipster alignment with the craft industry, but to an extent that's true, and it's fun to make fun of that. But the way that I look at this is that if you're not able to attend our events, or if you're across the state and you can't come to Tallahassee, how can I engage with you? And that's traditionally through vehicles like Facebook or Twitter. We use Matt Mimi as our Fermentation Friday newsletter, so that goes out every Friday. And I think one of the things that I'd be remiss to mention is that being consistent. One of the things that I'm obsessed with is our newsletter having new content going out at the same time every single week, so that people that are, we have 600 plus subscribers, so that they know that they can expect that every Friday around noon Eastern Standard Time, they're going to get something in their inbox. And some people say that they really just enjoy doing that. We used to do an article every single Friday until things got really hectic in the build-out process. And so we backed off doing that to like once every 3 weeks, because now it's like, what can I report? Construction. Okay, next topic.
There's more concrete.
Right, yeah, there's more concrete. There's less concrete. There's less space. And so what I think that's a good way to engage with people. Instagram, obviously, I think anytime you can use media, if it's video, so I'll do a walking tour so people can actually see it. You could drive by and just see that it's a building, or I can put like a walking tour or pictures of our progress online. And it's funny, the other day, Scott, my vice president, said, I just looked at our first pictures of construction back at Labor Day and where we are now, and it's mind-boggling because we're so close to it, we don't really realize the amount of change that's happened until you take like a more holistic approach and take a step back and looking at it. So we try and stay as socially engaged as possible. knowing that there's a limitation to that unless someone can come in and physically place their hands in the bar or consume one of our drinks. We have to be aware of that limitation. Otherwise, we push hard for media and consistency.
And I think you guys also do really well with photos. I always tell people photos. Use the visual as much as you can, because it's one of the things that can replicate that experience a little bit better over such a a non-personal, Twitter and Facebook, they're so social, but they're also a little bit, you're not actually standing in front of someone.
Absolutely. One of the influencing breweries behind Grasslands is a brewery in Atlanta called Monday Night Brewing Company. I refer to them a lot in our Fermentation Fridays or in our articles. These guys, 3 guys, just like fun-loving. They brewed every single Monday night, and every Tuesday morning they wrote about it. They invited anybody to come hang out with them. And here I am in Tallahassee. I've never even met these guys, but I was refreshing Tuesday morning. What did they do last night?
Yeah.
Because it was a fun, engaging kind of writing style. I mean, these are guys that in their brewery right now, they've got a cardboard cutout of Bryan Adams. Kind of wacky, witty kind of guys, and I just found myself really wanting to know more about what they were doing, and I had never tasted their beer, but they also allowed me to engage with them before their beer was on the market. Not necessarily tasting their beer, but exchanging, they had this thing where they have ties. Their slogan is "Weekends are overrated," and they have this high contrast image of a guy toasting. But Atlanta is a very working community, necktie, and so they want everyone to take off their tie. They've got this wall mural of ties in their brewery tap room, and they had people donate ties in exchange for a shirt. That's a really cool concept,
nice.
And that's a really easy way to engage with somebody. So right now we're kind of taking similar concepts and staying consistent, staying on message, and really kind of showing people, hey, this is how you can interact with us, and we can, hopefully do something for you on the flip side.
Yeah, and I want to mention also, you mentioned it before, but your Fermentation Fridays newsletters. I love the name. It has alliteration. It tells you exactly what it is. It's a witty name, and also you address your audience as grasshoppers, which is also so brilliant. And so maybe this just comes with the brewing territory of just needing to name things, fast and funny, I guess. But it seems that builds a really nice community. I mean, you have a name for the people that are following you. Do you find that I mean, I don't know. I guess, where do these names come from? And do you find any kind of results, good or bad, from doing those kinds of things?
I don't necessarily consider it good or bad, but it allows us to humanize the business. That interactivity that I sign off every single article with my dear readers, because I have no idea how many people are actually reading the articles, but I'd like to think that there's a nice, fun little community that is genuinely interested in what's going on.
Yeah.
And so I lovingly refer to them as our grasshoppers. We have, I mentioned the Grasshoppers Review Club. That's something that we started that was 3 people that quickly escalated to 12 people. Then that turned into over 300 people across 16 states. And so we are, we have our hands full with a lot of people that just want to be able to taste new beer. But the whole naming thing, I think it's really more my personality. Some of our brew team likes to joke that when we get a new table, like, all right, Gabe, what's this one's name gonna be? So it's maybe that's just more who I am, and I like to have fun with that. We have a beer dispensing box that we call Tommy the Treasure Chest, and it's just easier and more fun to say, hey, can we put Tommy in the back and bring him over to this event or that event, and say, I mean, just having fun like that. I think that's one of the nice things about the business itself is that, or the industry itself, is that you can have fun. You
Yeah.
can be yourself, and people are drawn to that a little bit more. It's not like you're being something for them; you're being something for you, and they can choose to like that.
That's something that's very nice about the Grasslands Brewing Company communication, is that it has its own personality, and that's so important in email or in tweets and in Facebook posts and anything you're going to do, is to make sure that that personality of your own business, which is you, anyone who has a business, and the personality of their business is themselves, and making sure that that comes across to their followers. So do you have any advice that you want to share to maybe some budding brewers, or even just some people who might be in a similar business situation to you and are looking to expand, or any advice that you have from your excellent journey?
Well, I think that I consider ourselves lucky and to kind of hit the nail on the head in terms of being able to connect with our audience in the first go. I don't really consider myself an entrepreneur. I've been told otherwise on numerous occasions. But I consider myself more of a passionate perfectionist. And if you're passionate, that comes through, and that connects with your audience because it's genuine. You're not faking it for dollar signs. What you really care, and that's really the essence of small business in this country, is you're passionate about doing something, and if you want to do it right, you're concerned about what your customers think. You're concerned about their experience, what they're leaving your facility with. What are they talking about you, or how are they talking about you outside of that? So connecting that with social networking and social media is wonderful. However, you should be doing what you're doing as good as you possibly can, because all social media will do is connect you to a wider audience and showing them how bad you are at what you do if you're not doing it right. So, I mean, now, granted, we've got to be able to back that up with high quality and innovative beer if that's what we're broadcasting as part of our brand. So that's like, we have all that in the works for January and beyond. So there's that continuity once we actually start. So if you're in the planning stages, it's fun. Treat it like it's something fun, but also be consistent in message and consistent in delivery.
Excellent. And then one last question is, what is your favorite beer?
The common answer is what's in front of me.
Very nice.
I mean, to be honest, it fluctuates with the day, the time of day. To be honest, there are some beers that are go-tos, but otherwise, I try and find something that I haven't tasted before. That's usually my favorite beer.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Do you head around to the other breweries that are in Tallahassee? Do you
Absolutely.
try out their wares?
Yes. No. We want a great community. If we're trying to promote a community of craft breweries, then we want it. We should show that. We should back that up. And so we attend or we try and be present at all three other breweries in Tallahassee, and we also try and pay it forward for the guys that are coming up. There's by the time 2016 rolls around in Tallahassee, there's going to be we'll have doubled the number of breweries in Tallahassee.
Wow.
Which is a cool concept. And so we're at a point where breweries have been before, and where breweries are looking to get toward in the coming years. And so we try and pay it forward as much as we can. And then also just show support for those other local breweries.
Fabulous. Well, thank you, Gabe, so much for joining us. We're just about out of time here, but thank you all for watching. This has been Hanging Out with Mad Mimi, and we'll see you next Wednesday at 4 p.m. And you can always check out any of our episodes, including this one, on YouTube. See you next week.
All right, bye.